The promise Ethan Gray was 12 years old. The summer he made the promise. It happened on the colony world of Fairhold, a place where dusty streets met bright alien skies. Every year, the humans and the off-world visitors gathered for the summer fair. There were food stalls, music from 10 planets, and strange games Ethan never understood. He had wandered away from his friends, chewing on a stick of fried starfruit, when he saw a small booth at the edge of the fairground. The sign above it was in a language he couldn't read, glowing, curling symbols like silver smoke. Inside, standing behind a table, was a girl. She wasn't human. Her skin was a pale silver blue, almost shining under the sun. Her hair, black as night, hung in smooth lines, and her eyes were bright like molten silver coins. She wore a simple tunic with strange patterns. She looked about his age, maybe younger, but there was something about the way she stood, straight and still, that felt older. "Hello," Ethan said. The girl tilted her head, curious. "Hello, human boy." He laughed a little. "You talk funny." "You hear funny," she said, but there was no anger in her voice. Ethan stepped closer. On the table were small glowing stones, red, blue, and white. They pulsed gently like tiny heartbeats. "What's this place?" he asked. "This is the Bond game," she said. "My people play it when we meet someone we like." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Like? In my world," she explained, "children make a promise. When they grow up, they can keep it. Or not. If they keep it, the promise is forever." He smirked. "Sounds like marriage." "Yes," she said simply. "It is marriage." Ethan nearly choked on his starfruit. "What? You marry people as kids?" "It is a game," she said calmly, "but sometimes the game is real." She picked up one of the stones, a soft, glowing crystal. "If I give you this, it means I promise. If you give it back when you grow, it means you promise too." He couldn't help but laugh. "So if I say yes now, you'll come marry me in, 20 years?" 18, she said, without smiling. Ethan thought it was the funniest thing he'd heard all week. "All right, sure, I promise. We'll get married when we grow up." Her silver eyes locked on his. "You speak with no fear. I like that." She placed the glowing crystal in his palm. It was warm, almost alive, and as soon as it touched his skin, it pulsed once, like it was breathing. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she said. "Remember it. I will come for you when it is time." He grinned. "Sure, Lyra. See you in 18 years. Ethan pocketed the crystal and walked away, still laughing at the weird alien game. But as he rejoined his friends, he noticed something odd. The crystal in his pocket stayed warm all day. 18 years later, Ethan had almost forgotten about the fair, the girl, and the glowing crystal. Life had turned out ordinary. He lived in a small apartment on Earth, worked a regular job, and kept his adventures limited to old space. Dramas on his holoscreen. The crystal was still with him, though. He had found it again during military training years ago, buried in an old box of childhood junk. It no longer glowed, but it still felt strange to throw it away. He kept it in a drawer. It was a rainy Thursday night when the knock came. Ethan was halfway through reheating leftover noodles when he heard it. 3 sharp knocks. He opened the door and froze. Standing there was a woman, unlike anyone he had ever seen. She was tall, graceful, and her skin shimmered faintly under the hallway light. Her hair was black silk, and her silver eyes burned like they could see through his soul. She was wearing a long coat made of a material he didn't recognize, with strange patterns stitched into the collar. "Ethan Gray," she said in perfect English. Her voice was calm, steady, and carried a strange rhythm. "Yes?" She stepped forward slightly, close enough for him to smell something faint and sweet, like alien flowers. I have come to claim my husband. Ethan blinked. Excuse me? She reached into her coat and pulled out something small and glowing. It was the crystal dot, his crystal dot. It was pulsing again, warm and alive. You promised me, she said simply. 18 years ago. At the fair on Fairhold. Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the booth, the silver-eyed girl. The joke. Oh no, he whispered. Yes, she said. Rain drummed against the windows. The crystal's glow reflected in her eyes like tiny suns. And somewhere deep in his chest, Ethan felt the faintest pulse. In rhythm with the crystal. The promise was no longer a joke. Asterisk. The visitor. Ethan stared at the glowing crystal in her hand. It looked exactly the same as it had when he was 12, only brighter. The warm light spilled across her silver blue fingers, like it had been waiting all these years just to be seen again. Okay, Ethan said slowly. You're serious? This isn't some reality show prank? Lyra didn't blink. There is no prank. A promise bond is binding under Ziral law. It is recognized by my clan and by the High Council. Ethan took a step back. High Council? What are you talking about? We met once for like 5 minutes, and you spoke the words. He almost laughed, but something in her eyes told him she wasn't here to joke. She stepped inside without asking. The smell of rain and something floral filled the small apartment. Her eyes scanned every corner, like she was memorizing it, or checking it for danger. Live alone, she said. Yeah, that's creepy to know. I have watched your life from a distance, she continued, as if that was completely normal. I know you work for the Cargo Guild. I know you fought in the Outer Belt skirmishes. I know you nearly died when your shuttle decompressed. I know you kept the crystal. Ethan froze. How could you possibly? Because the bond allowed me to feel when you were in danger. He stared at her. The rain outside seemed to grow heavier. All right, he said. You've made your point. Why now? Why after 18 years? Because you are ready, she said simply. And because my clan will not wait any longer. She reached into her coat again and pulled out a small device, no larger than a coin. It projected a shimmering blue image in the air. An alien face, older, harsher, with markings like sharp shadows across the skin. This is my father, she said, leader of the Zyra High House of Larithus. He sent me to bring you back. Ethan frowned. Bring me back? Back where? She looked at him like the answer was obvious. Home, to Zyra Prime. Ethan sat down heavily on the couch. Let me get this straight. You, an alien I met as a kid, flew across the galaxy to tell me we're engaged because I made a dumb promise at a fair? Yes. And you want me to just leave Earth with you? Yes. He rubbed his face. Do you hear how insane that sounds? Lyra tilted her head. Humans think love is magic. My people know it is law. He opened his mouth to argue, but there was a sudden, low hum. Not from her. From the crystal dot, it was glowing brighter, faster, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her expression sharpened instantly. She moved to the window, parting the blinds just enough to look outside. What is it? Ethan asked. She didn't answer right away. We are not alone. He joined her at the window. Down on the street, parked in the rain, was a black vehicle with no plates. 2 figures in dark coats sat inside, unmoving. Government? Ethan guessed. Not yours, Lyra said, voice low. Zira operatives. From the rival house. What rival house? The one that will kill you if you marry me. Ethan turned to her. And you didn't think to mention that first? She held his gaze. Mentioning it changes nothing. You are already a target. The knock on the door came again, not gentle this time. Heavy, demanding. Ethan's gut twisted. That's them, isn't it? Yes, she said, already moving. She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. We must go. Now. He pulled back. Hold on. Why should I trust you? For all I know, you're kidnapping me for your own people. Her silver eyes hardened. If I wanted to take you, I would have done so the moment you opened the door. They, however, will not ask you questions before they break your bones. The pounding on the door grew louder. In the kitchen. A mug rattled on the counter. Outside, the black car's doors opened. Ethan looked at the front door, then at her. She stood there, tall, calm, and deadly serious, her hand still holding the glowing crystal. Choose, she said. Stay here and die for a promise you think is a joke. Or come with me and find out why it was never a joke at all. The doorframe shook under another hit. Rainwater was dripping through the ceiling vent. And for the first time in his life, Ethan realized the warm pulse in his chest wasn't just fear. It was the same rhythm as the crystal in her hand. He grabbed his jacket. Fine, but you're explaining everything on the way. A faint smile crossed her face. If we survive. The way. She kicked open the back window, and the two of them vanished into the storm. The ultimatum rain hammered against the shuttle's canopy as it lifted away from the city. Ethan sat in the passenger seat, breathing hard, still trying to process what had happened in the last 10 minutes. The glow from the crystal in Lyra's hand lit her silver blue skin like a lantern. She didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the radar display in front of her. They will follow, she said quietly. Who exactly is they? Ethan asked, still gripping the armrest. The Zyra House of Mareth, she replied. My clan's oldest enemy. They believe if you die before the bonding ceremony, my claim will dissolve. Without you, my family loses power. Ethan shook his head. This is insane. I'm just a cargo worker from Earth. Why would your whole clan's future depend on me? Because you carry the promise bond. The Council will not ignore it. It binds not only us, but our two worlds. The words, our two worlds, made his stomach twist. So you're saying this marriage thing isn't just about you and politics? She finally looked at him, her silver eyes unblinking. Everything is politics. The shuttle broke through the clouds into high orbit. The sight of Earth's curve below should have been beautiful. Instead, Ethan felt trapped, like the planet itself was slipping away from him. He turned back to Lyra. I want answers. All of them. Now. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Very well. You have 7 days. 7 rotations of your planet. That is the time allowed by my clan's law for a promised mate to decide. Decide what? Ethan asked, even though he already knew the answer. To accept the bond, or to break it. And if I break it? Her voice stayed calm, but her words were like cold metal. If you refuse, the Zyra Council will consider it an insult to our people. A broken promise in a bond ceremony is not just personal. It is a declaration of dishonor. The House of Mareth will use it as an excuse to demand war. Ethan blinked. You're telling me. If I say no, Earth could be dragged into an alien war? Yes. Before he could speak again, a sharp tone filled the shuttle. Lyra tapped. A control and a holographic image appeared in the air. 2 men in dark suits, both human, stared at him from the projection. One spoke. Mr. Gray, this is Director Harris, United Earth Diplomatic Security. We need to speak immediately. Ethan's pulse jumped. How did you? We've been monitoring Zyra ship activity for the past 24 hours. Harris said, ignoring him. You're now part of an active diplomatic matter. You will comply with our instructions. Lyra's hand hovered over the controls. They will try to use you. Do not trust them. The second man in the hollow leaned forward. Mr. Gray, whatever this alien told you, your loyalty is to your own people. The Zyra don't care about you. They care about what you represent. Ethan looked from the hologram to Lyra. His mind felt like it was being pulled in two directions at once. Director Harris's voice hardened. We're issuing a travel order. You will dock at the lunar station immediately. Fail to comply, and we will classify you as a security threat. Lyra cut the transmission with a single swipe. Hey, Ethan said. Maybe they could actually help me. Her jaw tightened. The humans will promise you safety, but they will not protect you from Zira politics. They will protect themselves first, always. A sudden shudder shook the shuttle. Warning lights flashed. Lyra checked the sensors. They've found us, she said. Ethan glanced at the radar. 3 fast-moving contacts closing in. Your rivals? No, she said grimly. Your government. What? They do not want me taking you. Off-world. They will bring you in before I can complete the bond. Her hands danced over the controls, pushing the engines harder. Outside, faint flashes lit the blackness of space. Pursuit craft firing warning bursts. Ethan's heart pounded. This is insane. I can't. I'm not. You are in the middle of it, whether you wish it or not, Lyra cut in. The promise you made as a boy has become a thread between 2 civilizations, and now the thread is being pulled from both ends. The comm system crackled to life again. This time, it wasn't the human government. It was a deep, commanding voice, speaking in the Zyra language. Lyra's eyes narrowed. My father, she said. She activated the translator. Daughter, the voice boomed in English now. You have the human. Good. The council session begins in 7 cycles. Do not fail. And if he resists, the voice paused for a heartbeat. Remind him that a promise is not his to break. The transmission ended. Ethan stared at her. What does that mean? Not mine to break? Lyra held his gaze. It means you may not have a choice. The shuttle banked sharply toward a jump gate glittering. In the distance, behind them, human pursuit craft closed in. Ahead, unknown Zyra ships waited. 7 days. 2 governments. One promised Dot and Ethan, a man who once thought the galaxy had no idea he even existed, was now the most wanted human alive. Asterisk the bond test. The jump gate flared behind them, swallowing. The shuttle in a flash of white light. When Ethan's vision cleared, Earth was gone. Before them hung a massive space station, a ring of silver and black, turning slowly against a backdrop of stars. It was bigger than any human station he had ever seen. Entire cities seemed to be built along its curved edges. This is Zira. Territory, Lyra said. Here, my clan's law rules over all others. Ethan didn't like the way she said it. And that's supposed to make me feel safe? Her silver eyes flipped toward him. It's supposed to make you feel serious. They docked at one of the station's outer bays. As they stepped out, a group of armored Zira guards formed a corridor for them. Their armor gleamed like black glass, and their long spears buzzed faintly with energy. Every one of them stared at Ethan as if he were already guilty of something. They led him through curved corridors that opened into a vast chamber, the bond hall. The ceiling stretched so high it vanished into shadows. A circular platform hovered over a pool of silver liquid, its surface rippling as if it were alive. On the far side stood 3 alien figures in long robes. Lyra whispered, The bond judges. Ethan muttered, Great. Sounds like a fun bunch. The central judge spoke in a voice that rolled like thunder. Human Ethan Gray, by the ancient law of the Zyra, you have made a promise bond. Before the union can be recognized, you must prove yourself through the trials. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Trials? Nobody mentioned trials. You will. Complete 3, the judge continued. The trial of courage. The trial of loyalty. The trial of understanding. Fail, and the bond is void. Ethan exhaled. Well, that doesn't sound fail, the judge repeated, and you will be executed. The bond is not given to the unworthy. Ethan froze. You're kidding. They do not kid, Lyra said softly. The first trial began without warning. The silver pool beneath the platform bubbled violently. Shapes rose from the liquid, not solid, not flesh, but shadows wearing faces. They hissed and lunged toward him. They are fear-born, Lyra called. They will take the form of what you fear most. Ethan's chest tightened as one of the shadows morphed into a man in a black spacesuit. Visor cracked, oxygen leaking. The nightmare from his shuttle accident years ago got another, became a figure from his military past. A friend who died under his command. They circled him, whispering his failures. Each voice sharper than the last. Ethan clenched his fists. I've had enough of ghosts. He moved, faster than he thought possible, stepping between them and striking at their forms. Every hit made them flicker like smoke in wind. His heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from defiance. When the last one vanished, the pool. Still. The central judge's voice echoed. The trial of courage passed. The second trial was worse. A wall of light separated him from Lyra. In front of him stood 2 Zira guards and his mother. Or at least something wearing her face. The judge's voice came again. One is an illusion. One is real. To prove loyalty, you must protect the one who will be your bondmate. But if you choose wrongly, you condemn the other too. Death. Ethan's pulse thundered. The mother called to him in her warm voice. Lyra simply watched him, silent, trusting him to know. Every instinct told him to run to his mother, but another part of him remembered what Lyra had said. In the shuttle, the bond allows me to feel when you are in danger. He stepped toward Lyra's side of the wall. The illusion shattered instantly. His mother's image dissolved into dust. The judge spoke. The trial of loyalty passed. The third trial came without pause. The floor beneath him shifted into a star map. Countless points of light floated in the air, each one a planet. Judge's voice grew quieter. Understanding is more than knowing. It is seeing. Images began to flash in front of him. Battles between human fleets and alien ships, cities burning, alien children crying. Then, scenes of human and Zyra working together, laughing, building, trading. Ethan realized the trial wasn't about solving a puzzle. It was about seeing the choice for what it truly was. If he accepted the bond, it could mean peace. If he rejected it, the galaxy could burn. When the trial ended, the platform lowered. The judges' faces were unreadable. The trials are complete, the central judge said. The decision now rests with the bondmate. Ethan turned to Lyra, his chest still pounding. But before he could speak, the chamber doors slammed open. A tall figure in crimson armor stepped inside, his movements sharp, predatory. His voice carried across the hall. I challenge the human. By right of the rival house. Lyra's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Karen, Ethan blinked. Wait, Karen? Like the name. This is no time for jokes, Lyra said. If you lose this duel, you die. Asterisk the rival. The chamber's silence cracked under the echo of Karen's boots. The Zyra warrior moved like a blade, tall, broad-shouldered, and wrapped in crimson armor that shimmered with shifting patterns. His eyes were cold silver. But unlike Lyra's, there was no warmth in them. You bring a human into our hall, Karen said, his voice dripping contempt. And you call him worthy? I call him a fraud. I claim the right to challenge. The bond judges watched in stillness. None would stop it. The challenge was an ancient clause in Zira law. Ethan muttered under his breath. Do you guys have any traditions that don't involve me dying? Lyra's voice was low, sharp. Karen is the heir of the rival house. If he kills you, my clan loses the bond. And he takes my hand instead. Ethan blinked. So basically, I'm the obstacle to his wedding plans? You are more than that, she said. You are the only thing standing between him and ruling my people. Karen drew a weapon from his hip, a long curved blade humming with pale energy. I will make this quick, human. Ethan looked at the judges. Any chance I can just say no? The central judge's reply was a single word: begin. The floor shifted beneath them, transforming into a wide dueling platform. A shimmering barrier rose around it, sealing them in. Ethan took a step back. All right. Don't suppose we could talk this out over a drink? Karen lunged. The blade cut through the air with a sound like tearing metal. Ethan dodged by instinct, the heat of the energy edge brushing his cheek. The Zira warrior was fast, too fast. Every swing came within inches of ending the fight. Ethan ducked, rolled, and scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding. You know, in my culture, we usually meet the in-laws before the murder attempt. Karen's strikes were relentless. But Ethan noticed something. Every time Karen swung, his weight shifted too far forward, overcommitting. It was the kind of flaw human close-quarters fighters exploited all the time. The problem was, Ethan didn't have a weapon until he looked down. The dueling platform wasn't just metal. It was made of interlocking panels, and one of them had a loose edge. Karen charged again. Ethan sidestepped, letting the blade slam into the floor where he had been. In the half-second it took Karen to pull it free, Ethan stomped on the loose panel and ripped it upward, using it like a shield. The next strike hit the panel instead of flesh. Sparks exploded, the energy blade biting into the metal. Ethan shoved forward, slamming the panel into Karen's chest plate. It didn't hurt the Zira much, but it made him angry. You fight like a scavenger, Karen snarled. Ethan grinned, panting. Thanks. I take that as a compliment. Karen roared and swung in a wide arc. Ethan dropped low, not to dodge, but to grab the hem of Karen's armor skirt. With a sharp yank, he pulled Karen off balance. The warrior stumbled forward, his blade arm high, his weight over his front foot. That was when Ethan used the most human weapon of all. He headbutted him. The impact cracked like a hammer hitting stone. Karen staggered backward, stunned, not from pain, but from the sheer audacity of the move. The chamber gasped. Ethan didn't give him time to recover. He charged forward, panel shield in one hand, fists swinging. He wasn't stronger, but he was unpredictable. Humans weren't trained in Zira dueling forms, and that made him dangerous in a way Karen couldn't read. Karen blocked the first hit, but the second caught his jaw. The third slammed into his ribs. Then Ethan did something that made even the judges lean forward. He stepped back, dropped the shield. And offered Karen his hand. Fight's over, Ethan said. You want to kill me? Fine, but I'm not your enemy. Your real enemies are the ones who'll start a war if we don't stop them. For a moment, Karen just stood there, breathing hard. The offer was a challenge of its own. To end the duel without blood. Karen's eyes narrowed. Then, in one swift motion, he slammed his blade into the ground. I do not accept your bond, Karen said to Lyra, but I see now why you chose him. He stepped off the platform, leaving. The judges murmuring among themselves. Ethan exhaled hard. Well, that went better than expected. Lyra approached him. You may have just turned a rival into an ally, or into someone who will kill you later in your sleep. Ethan gave a tired grin. Guess we'll find out. The judges stood. The central one spoke. You have survived the trials. You have defeated the rival. The bond may proceed. But before Lyra could respond, a young Zira messenger ran into the chamber, breathless. Hi, lady, he said, bowing. It's your planet. Zira Prime is under attack. Asterisk the truth, the chamber's silence shattered as the messenger's words echoed. Zyra Prime is under attack. Lyra's face stayed calm, but her eyes flickered, a crack in the gap. Mask Ethan hadn't seen before. By who? She asked. The messenger's voice shook. Combined Fleet, House of Mareth, and off-world mercenaries. They struck the outer colonies first. The capital will fall within days if the High House does not answer. Gasps rippled through the judges. Ethan caught the word fall and felt his stomach tighten. Karen, the rival warrior, stepped forward. If the capital falls, the bond will mean nothing. This human will mean nothing. Ethan looked at Lyra. Okay, I'm guessing this is the part where I pretend not to notice everyone in the room wants to use me as a political bandage. Lyra didn't respond immediately. She stared at the floor for a moment, then back at him. We need to leave, now. They moved fast, down, spiraling corridors, past towering windows that showed the station's defense fleet mobilizing. Outside, streaks of light marked ships jumping to warp, heading for Zyra Prime. Ethan jogged beside her, his voice low. So, care to explain why I feel like I just got promoted from weird human guest to planet-saving mascot? Her steps never slowed. Because the bond isn't only a promise between two people. It's a treaty, a living one. If you marry me, my clan's allies are bound to defend any world tied to you, including Earth. Ethan stopped dead. Wait, that's the real reason you came for me, isn't it? Lyra turned, her expression unreadable. You didn't just miss me for 18 years, Ethan said. You came because Earth's military is the only thing that could swing this war in your favor. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, yes. The single word hit harder than a blade. So all that stuff about tradition, about you watching over me, that was just a sales pitch? He asked, voice sharper now. Her silver eyes softened slightly. It began as politics, but that does not mean I feel nothing for you now. Convenient, Ethan muttered. Makes it easier to drag me into a war. Her voice dropped lower. This war will happen whether you join me or not. The only choice you have is whether your people live through it. Before Ethan could answer, the station shook violently. Sirens wailed. The lights dimmed to red dot. An automated voice boomed in both Zyra and English. Warning. Unidentified craft reaching outer hull. Evacuate combat sectors. Lyra grabbed his arm. They've come for you. Who? The Mareth. Yes. If they kill you here, they don't have to take Zyra Prime. The bond dies with you. They ran. The station's polished halls became chaos. Guards shouting orders, civilians scattering, distant explosions shaking the floors. As they turned a corner, 2 armored attackers burst from a side passage. They weren't Zyra. Their armor was heavier, bulkier, with angular helmets and glowing blue visors. Lyra moved like a whip, her spear flashing in arcs of light, cutting down the first. Ethan barely had time to duck as the second fired. A burst of crackling rounds passed his head. Lyra slammed the second into the wall, her voice ice cold. Who sent you? The mercenary's voice hissed through the helmet speaker. House Mareth pays well for human heads. The station shuddered again. A muffled explosion boomed overhead. Lyra dropped the mercenary and grabbed Ethan's wrist. We can't stay here. There's only one safe place now, the High House warship. Safe? Ethan barked. You just said people are trying to kill me every 3 minutes. Safer than here, she said, already pulling him toward a docking bay. When they reached the bay, the sight stopped Ethan cold. The warship loomed in the dock, massive, black and angular, its hull etched with glowing patterns that seemed to shift when he looked too long. Rows of weapons bristled along its spine. This is the Vaethra, Lyra said. The only ship fast enough to get us to the capital before it falls. Ethan stared. Let me guess. Once we're on board, there's no going back. She met his gaze. Once we're on board, the bond will be the only thing keeping you alive. As they boarded, a thought burned in the back of Ethan's mind. She had admitted it started his politics. She had admitted she came for him because he was leverage. But in the way she looked at him now, amid the alarms, the fire, the war, there was something else, something that scared him more than the enemy ships. Because it wasn't just strategy anymore, It might actually be real. The warship's engines roared to life. The docking clamps released with a thunderous clang. Out the viewport, Ethan saw the rival fleet, dozens of ships, blocking the route to Zyra Prime. And in the captain's chair, Lyra said the words that would decide everything. Prepare for jump. We're going through them. Asterisk, the choice de Vaethra tore through the black, its engines screaming as enemy fire lit the void around it. Ethan stood braced beside Lyra on the bridge, watching the rival fleet close in. Dozens of Mirith warships blocked the path to Zyra Prime, their weapons locked, their formation perfect. They're not here to win a battle, Ethan said. They're here to make sure we don't get through. Lyra's jaw was tight. Then we go through them anyway. She turned to the helmsman. Bring us to attack speed. Ready the forward cannons. Ethan grabbed her arm. If we charge, we're dead before we hit their line. Do you have a better plan, human? He looked at the tactical display. Red icons marking enemy ships. A single blinking green marking the capital. Then he noticed something. That gap in their formation, just wide enough for a shuttle. Lyra followed his gaze. It would have to move unseen. Ethan smiled. Grimly, then let me fly it. Minutes later, Ethan was in the cockpit of a small stealth shuttle. Lyra sat beside him, her crystal glowing faintly in her hand. The Vaethra unleashed a barrage of fire, drawing the enemy's attention. In the chaos, the shuttle slipped from its bay, engines on silent burn, sliding toward the gap in the blockade. Every second, Ethan expected alarms to scream and enemy fire to tear them apart. Instead, the Mirith ships focused on the warship, until the last moment when one broke. Formation and turned toward them. They've seen us, Lyra said. Ethan's hands flew over the controls. Then we don't give them time to aim? The shuttle dove toward the planet below. Atmosphere fire licking its hull. Zyra Prime was chaos. The capital city burned in the distance, the sky choked with smoke and enemy dropships. Ethan landed. Hard in the courtyard of the high house citadel. The gates were already under siege. Enemy soldiers swarming forward. Lyra leapt from the shuttle, her spear flashing as she cut down attackers. Ethan grabbed a fallen rifle and followed, covering. Her flank inside the citadel. The great hall was a war zone. The high house guards fought desperately, but the Mirith forces were pushing through at the far end of the hall. Ethan saw him, Lyra's father, the High Lord, pinned behind a barricade, blood on his shoulder. Lyra fought her way to him. Father! He looked at Ethan with the kind of scrutiny only a ruler could give. So this is the human. No time for introductions, Ethan said, firing a burst past the barricade. We're getting you out. They fought their way toward the citadel's inner chamber, the place where the bond ceremony could be completed. But the enemy was closing in from every direction. In the doorway to the chamber, Karen appeared, not as an enemy, but fighting. Alongside them, his crimson armor bloodied, his blade cutting down Mirith soldiers without hesitation. I am not letting them take her, Karen said, nodding toward Lyra, even if it means protecting you. Glad we had that duel then, Ethan said, ducking behind cover. Inside the chamber, the great crystal altar of the bond pulsed with light. Lyra turned to Ethan, her voice urgent. Once the bond is sealed, my clan's allies, all of them, will be bound to defend Earth and Zyra. It will end this war before it spreads. Ethan's chest tightened. And if I don't? Her eyes didn't waver. If you refuse, the treaty dies here. Earth will stand alone. The sounds of battle grew louder outside. Boots pounding closer, weapons fire echoing in the hall. You came for me because of politics, Ethan said. I get it now. But I also know you could have forced this from the start. You didn't. She stepped closer, because I wanted you to choose. Even if it cost us everything. The doors slammed open. Enemy soldiers pouring in. Karen and the guards formed a wall, buying seconds, maybe less. Lyra held out the crystal. Ethan Gray, will you keep the promise? For a heartbeat, the world slowed. The boy at the fair. The promise as a joke, the years in between, all of. It led here. Ethan took the crystal. Yeah, he said. Let's end this. Light exploded from the altar, a shockwave tearing through the chamber. The crystal fused into his palm, the mark of the bond burning bright. Outside, the battle froze. Across the planet, and in orbit, the High House allies arrived in force, fleets dropping out of warp, weapons ready. The Mareth forces faltered, retreating under the sudden shift in power. It was over. Or so he thought. Later, in the quiet aftermath, Lyra stood with him on the Citadel balcony. Below, the city still smoldered. You've tied our worlds together, she said. For better or worse. Ethan looked at the horizon. Guess we'll find out which. She hesitated. There's something you should know. The bond, it works both ways. Your enemies are now my enemies. But my enemies are now yours. Before he could respond, a shadow passed overhead. A ship unlike any he'd seen before, its hull marked with symbols from neither house. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They're not Mareth. They're worse. Ethan sighed. So, honeymoons. Postponed? Her grip tightened on his hand. If we live, we can talk about honeymoons. And above Zira Prime, the unknown fleet began to descend.